YouTube, how's it going? And welcome back to Kitchen Table Meta. So in this episode, we're going to take a look at the Heroes expansion that's coming out this month. It'll be on January 26th, which will be the day before the Toledo event, which is, if you guys aren't aware of the Toledo event, it's in Toledo, Ohio. It's a 1K event. It has amazing prizing. They have a special top 8 playmats. They have this really cool golden trophy with like Dragon Balls on top. Plus entry fee is only $25. They have a rate going for hotels, only like $44. They have food at the event. You get a playmat for signing up and booster packs. There's just so many cool things. Plus there's going to be tons of YouTubers there as well. I think Super Players are going to be there. I'm going to be there. There's going to be, I believe, the Hill Twins are going to be there. I mean, honestly, I think almost every YouTuber is going to be there as well. Plus, we're going to have a lot of high tier, high level players going to be there as well. It's just going to be such a fun time. I know they're even thinking about having the Dragon Ball Z fighting game there as like side events, so you can play those as well. So it's just going to be an awesome day of like just Dragon Ball Super the card game, just meeting everybody. If you guys want to play an event, please guys come try out this event. It's pretty cheap. Like I said, $25. You get your money back just in entering. Plus, you have the ability to win some really cool prizes and just meet some really cool people as well, which is what this game is all about, guys. It honestly is. And I'm super excited for the event. I cannot wait. Anyway, I want to get into this because I'm so excited to talk about these cards. I've actually had a chance to play with some of these cards on my stream and actually even build some decks around these cards. So it's like the first time I've really been able to review cards that I've had a chance to actually play with. Usually I'll talk about these cards as soon as they come out, and sometimes I miss things. Sometimes, you know, I kind of underestimate things, which I usually just make a video and try to fix it. But I think it's really cool this time I actually had a chance to play with them, and I'm really excited to get in here and talk about these cards. Anyway, let's talk about the first card coming up, which is Comrades combined Son-Goku. Now this is a 3-cost 2 blue 0 plus 5,000 combo card with 15,000 power and a pretty unique auto ability that we haven't really seen yet. It says, when you play this card, look at up to 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 blue Vegeta among them with an energy cost 3 or less, and play it in rest mode. Then place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Now this card's pretty neat, and I think it's pretty obvious from looking at the design of this card that it was kind of developed and built in order to work with Vegeta decks or to work with decks that want that Patara ability, which is, you know, if you have a Goku and a Vegeta out, you can pay a certain cost, combine those cards into active mode, and then play a Vegeta on top of it, which is really neat. I mean, that's a really cool ability, and I think we're going to see more cards taking advantage of that mechanic, which is exciting because I do like that mechanic. I think it's great. And I think this is a great card in order to make that mechanic a little bit more reliable, right? Because the biggest problem with the Patara mechanic, as far as Goku and Vegeta goes, is that the Vegeta cards are a little bit more lackluster in comparison to the Goku cards, right? Goku seems like he has a good card in almost every drop, right? Like he has a good 1 drop, he has a good 2 drop, which is the green Goku. He has multiple good 3 drops. I guess, even his 4 drop, he has the 4 drop critical card. And so it just feels like Goku has all these really good cards, and the Vegeta, I guess, which is what he's like in the show, is always like 1 step behind as far as that goes. And so this is a really cool way to get a Vegeta out. Now the problem with this card, and there's multiple ones. Number one, I guess the most pressing issue for me with this card is that it costs 2 blue. And I hate that it costs 2 blue. I think blue is moving towards this, especially going in set 3, it's moving into this color that's like a splashable color. It's like the support color, right? It doesn't stand that well alone, but it does stand, it's like the best color when compared with any of the other colors. And so the decks we're starting to see crop up now are like blue-green or tricolor decks, which are blue-green-yellow. And I think in those decks, you really can't afford to have 2 blue energy by turn 3, right? That's just not what the deck wants to do. It wants to play out its powerful green cards and take advantage of the energy that way, and only really wants 1 blue energy to turn on its like coercions, its sensu beans, its objections, its boos, those kind of cards. And so I think if a card costs 2 blue, especially at a 3 drop, it has to be powerful. It has to give us something, and I'm afraid this card just isn't quite powerful enough for that. Now, what makes up for this downfall is when it's paired with Vegeta decks, which again, I think it's part of its design and what it was designed to do. And I think in those situations, it's fantastic. That's where it'll probably see most of its play. Another big downside of this card is that it has to find blue Vegetas, and they have to be 3 or less. And like we talked about, Vegeta just doesn't have that many good cards, especially early drops. His late drops are fantastic. You know, we have Pritza Speed, which is a great card. You know, we have the 4-drop Vegeta that comes into play and KO something. Those are all fantastic cards. I wish we could go search for something like that, though that would probably be a little too strong. But it seems like the three or less, especially in blue, just are kind of lackluster. Now, we do have a new Vegeta coming up that we'll talk about next that I think pairs obviously very well with this card, but otherwise it just seems very weak, because what will happen is when you play this out on 3, you'll go get a Vegeta, let's say the critical Vegeta, which is probably the most played 3-drop Vegeta we currently have in the game. You play him in rest mode, you pass the turn, and your opponent can just kill the Vegeta. If you're trying to Union Patara, you can just save the red combo card and just wait for that. You know what I mean? And just wait, and then when your opponent attacks, you just use it as a combo card. You save a damage, and you also protect that Vegeta a lot better than what this Goku can do as well. And so for those reasons, oh, there's actually one more thing I want to talk about, which is something that players, I think, are kind of not paying attention to, and I think it's a very important that they do, because this is a huge downside of this card. And it's in the last sentence of this card. It says, then place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. And so it's possible that you play out this Goku, you look at the top 7, and you have like 2 Piccolos in there, you know, or 2 of your 0-cost combo cards. And then sure, you get a Vegeta, but then you're going to lose all of your combo cards are going to be at the bottom. And that's a huge, that could actually make you lose games. You could look at the top and maybe hit a couple negates or hit cards that you want later in the game. That's a huge downside. And so I think if you do play this card, and what I've been doing on stream is when I play this card, I always try to have the 1-cost Goku, the Kainsei and Son-Goku ready to go, so ready to play it out afterwards. That way I can shuffle my deck and fix it if I put good cards on the bottom. And so anyway, guys, you know, for all these reasons, and I'm sorry I spent a little bit too much time with this card, I want to give this card 2 stars. I think it's a good card. I think it'll see niche play in probably the Vegito decks or Patara based decks, but otherwise I just don't think this card is good enough, and I'm sorry. I mean, I apologize. Next up, we have Comrades Combined Vegeta. This is a 3-cost, 2 blue, 0 plus 5,000 power combo card with 20,000 power, and a pretty neat permanent ability. This is something that I was really hoping they would include in the game. If you guys are familiar with my, my first videos, I talked about something like this a lot, and that is, it says permanent. If all your energy is blue, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand in battle area by 1. This is something I'm super excited about. I love this kind of permanent ability. I think that they should be rewarding playing mono callers, because I think that's something that right now, this game, you can splash stuff like a little too easy, which I don't think is a bad thing. It definitely makes deck building more exciting, which is a positive. But I just think it'd be neat if they found some ways to make mono callers, at least a mono color decks, at least a thing. And so I love this ability. I love what this thing is trying to do. Now, with that being said, I do think this card has a couple glaring weaknesses. Again, 2 blue for a 3-cost card just doesn't seem good enough to me. Again, you want blue to be splashed most of the time. You don't want 2 blue on turn 3 if you can help it. There's just very few decks that want to do that. Now, with that being said, again, Vegito makes up for this weakness, and I think Patara based decks might still want this. That's great. Now, the other big downside, and this is more of like a rules question that we don't know the answer to quite yet, and that is, it says if all of your energy is blue, reduce the energy cost of this card. What people are asking is, if we're in Vegito, if we have a Vegito deck where all of our energy that's Goku and Vegeta are both blue, green, and red, will this card still get the reduction? Now, again, we don't know. We're going to have to wait for the FAQ for an official response and let Max, look it over and make his ruling as well. But with that being said, I do believe that the intent of this card is for it to still work with Vegito, and I do think that it will work. Probably 90%, maybe even higher than that it'll work. But it's important to remember that it's possible that this card could get worse if for some reason they decide to rule it that it doesn't work with Vegito, which again I think is a very small chance of that happening. Now, the upside of this card is that it can come out on turn 2. It's a 20,000 attacker. It can put a lot of pressure on your opponent, and your opponent's going to have a hard time dealing with the card because its power level is so high. Now, again, the downside of this card, however, is when you put pressure on your opponent, you're not really taking anything away. Honestly, they'll probably just take the hit every time, use it to awaken, and then put pressure on this card and kill it. If the card had like critical or some way to kind of essentially make up for the fact that it's putting early pressure on your opponent, that would make it definitely a lot better. But without that, I think the major use this card is going to get is for Vegito decks and be used in Patara. Since you're going to get it out, you're going to play it out, it's going to be hard for your opponent to remove it, and then you're going to use it to Patara the next turn with one of your Gokus. With all those things said, though, I do still think this card is definitely a 2-star card. I think it's a powerful card, and we'll see play in niche decks, but otherwise, it probably won't see very much play. Next up, we have Trunks, Link to the Future. And this is a 3-cost, 2 blue, 15,000 attacker with critical and another really neat auto ability. It says when you play this card, look up to 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 blue Vegito among them with an energy cost of 8 or less and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. This is a 0 cost plus 5,000 combo card, which is something to remember, and it is a Trunks Future, which is also something important to remember because all the Trunks features can be searched out with the 1-drop Bulma, which definitely makes that card better. You know, if it has a tutor for this card, that makes it a much better card, especially when it has a search function. Now, the big downside with this function is with its search function is it has to be a blue Vegito, which is very frustrating to me because there's not very many blue Vegitos in the game. There's 3, I think, total. There's 1 that's coming out in this set, and there's the promo one that we currently have, and I think there's like 1 more Vegito. I'll put the cards up here somewhere so you guys can see them all. But like I said, I think there's like 2 or 3 Vegitos, none of them being blue Vegitos, none of them being very powerful. The one in this set is probably your ideal target, but the other ones just doesn't seem to be good enough, I think, to warrant playing this card. Also, again, if you're playing a Vegito-based deck, you're probably going to be playing in Vegito. And in that case, you know, you have much more powerful 3-drops to be playing in your deck. You have, you know, the 3-drop critical Goku and the 3-drop critical Vegitos. Those are much better, in my opinion, than this Trunks. And I just don't really see this card getting much play. It does have critical, that's fantastic, but so does a lot of 3-drop cards. It does have, and it also requires 2 blue. Yet again, guys, this is again a huge downside. The Goku and Vegito critical cards also, while they don't have, you know, into the play battle or autos, they do, they do have everything else for 1 less blue threshold, which again is very important. And so I think this card will only see play in very, very, very niche decks, and even in those decks, I'm afraid that just probably a better combination of Vegeta and Goku 3-cost cards would probably just be better for you. But so I'm going to give this card, you know, 1 star. I don't think he's that great. I think it's great that he can be searched out with Bulma. I think it's cool that he searches the Vegito. But until we see better blue Vegitos, honestly, all your good Vegito cards are red, and those are going to be the ones you want to get, not the blue ones. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give him the 1 star. Next up, we have Ssb Vegeto the Savior. Now, this is an 8-cost, 3 blue, 30,000 attacker with Union Patara, with 2 blue and 3, so 5 total with Son-Goku and Vegeta. It has dual attack, critical, and auto that says when this card attacks twice in the same turn, it gains double strike for the duration of the turn. That's actually super cool. And then finally, it has 1 plus 10,000 combo power. Now, this is obviously the Vegito that the Trunks above is wanting you to search for, right? That's why they put the Trunks in there. They wanted for you to search out this Vegito and then Union Patara on your Goku and Vegeta and come out with this super powerful attacker. Honestly, 30,000 power is nothing to scoff at. And then also the ability that it can do 3 critical damage of the total of its attacks is just insane. I mean, it can put so much pressure on your opponent that your opponent's just not going to want to get hit by this guy at all. And so I think this card is very powerful card. There's a bunch of downsides with this card, though. Number 1 being that since it has 30,000 power, it can't be used for your Patara card. So for your it's the Vegito that like mills 10 cards, and you can take a Vegito of 25,000 power and put it on top of him. It can't be used with this card. Another big thing is the Patara 4-drop. It searches out, I believe it's Vegitos that cost 6 or less. It's either 6 or less or 7 or less, which again, it cannot be hit by that card either. And so the only way you're going to get this card out, you can't cheat it out with any of the other Vegito stuff. You can only play this card with Patara, which is a huge downside for this Vegito. It just makes it so very hard to get out. So you're either going to have to run a bunch of them so you can draw them out and hopefully you have it, or run the Trunks, which again, I think is kind of a lackluster card, or just hope you draw it, which is again, fine. It's definitely worth it with its power. Another big thing is that it is a blue Vegito. All the other Vegitos that are playable currently are red, and so most of them, I think 2 of them, can be played off of Babidi as well, which is a big thing. Babidi Vegito is a deck, and this card just doesn't fit well in that archetype either. And so for all these reasons, I am going to give this card a 2-star, because I do feel like if you can get it to come out, it's very powerful and it will put tons of pressure on your opponent. However, if you can't get it out, I'm sorry, even if you do get it out, it's possible that it's maybe not as good as the other Vegitos that we have that are much easier to get out. And so for those reasons, I'm going to play it safe, give this guy 2 stars, but I do think it's possible that he might just be outshined by the other Vegitos. Next up, we have Union Spirit Son-Goku. This is a 3-cost, 1 green, 15,000 attacker with active main. Return this card to its owner's hand, and then an auto ability that says when this card attacks, look at up to 7 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 1 Trunks youth among them with 15,000 or less power and add it to your hand. Then shuffle your deck. 0 plus 5,000 combo. Now this guy is super neat. I love the Goten and Trunks cards. I think they're so cool. I think they have such a cool theme in our game. You know, they search each other out. They always go look for Gotenks. You can discard them to do really cool things with them. They're super flavorful. They're super powerful, and they're great. Now this card is essentially a tutor to help you find your other Trunks cards, and that could be great because some of the Trunks cards are very powerful. The main one that I'm thinking of is the Trunks cards. The Trunk card, whenever you combo with it, you can untap an energy if your leader is blue. That's probably one of the best Trunk cards to search for this, and I really feel like that it's possible the card could be good enough just because it's helping you search for those. Now the big downside with this card, and again there isn't very many, is that this card is maybe not as good as just playing Mighty Mask, right? Maybe you just play Mighty Mask on 2, you search out 2 Gotens, and then you search out the Goten Family of Justice and the Trunks you're looking for, and you don't have to use this card at all. Now it's also important to realize that you can actually just use Mighty Mask on 2 and search for this card and the other Trunks card and have those as well. But with that being said, if in that case it seems almost like it's just better to play Mighty Mask for the cards you're looking for and not play this out as a constant kind of I guess a card gain. Now the thing about this card though is it's actually really cool if you pair it with cards that can protect it or cards that can get multiple uses out of it. An example would be Galactic Emperor Frieza. If you can attack with this card and then untap it or whatever and not have to pay its 3 cost every time, and just every time you're attacking you're digging your deck looking for another Trunks, this card essentially could draw you a card every turn, and that's very powerful. That could definitely be a very, very powerful effect. But with that being said, I don't think this card is going to see a whole bunch of play. I feel like there's just better Goten cards to use, and I think that this card's honestly probably just going to come into play, attack, look at the top 7, get you one of your Trunks cards that you're looking for, kind of replace itself and just die. And I think a 3-drop has to do more than that in our game because there's some really, really powerful 3-drops currently. And I think that especially in green, and I think this guy just has to do a little bit more in order to take advantage of that. And so for that reason, I'm going to give this guy 2. I think his ability to return to his hand is powerful because you can play this guy out, attack with him, look at the top 7, get a Trunks card, return them to your hand, and then the next turn, discard both of those Goten and Trunks cards you just got and play out like your Gotenks cards that have the Patara effect as well. So it does have potential to get a lot of value. I'm just afraid that for 3, it's probably just not quite there. Okay, next up we have Unified Spirit Trunks. Now this is the 3-cost, 1 green, 15,000 attacker that has active main. Return this card to your owner's hand, and it says auto, when this card attacks, you may reveal 1 Son-Goku from your hand. If you do so, choose up to 1 opponent's battle card with the energy cost 3 or less and KO that card. And also it has 0 plus 5,000 combo. Now this auto is a little bit more spicier than Goten's, but it's also a little bit less likely to kind of be taken advantage of. And what I mean by that is that while 3-drop is a fantastic curve, like essentially a lot of decks take advantage of those 3-cost cards. We have multiple ones. We have all the combo cards that come into play. We have TN, we have Gotenks. There's just so many targets that this card can definitely probably have a hit. But there are also decks in the format that just don't care. They just don't care about this 3-cost, and they play around it. They go objection on 2, they go from 3 energy on the next turn to 4, and just skip the 3-cost curve altogether. And in that when you're playing against those kind of decks, I'm afraid this card just won't see hardly any play at all. Now, it is important to notice that this card does interact very well against the Android decks. It gives you consistent removal against the Android decks, which is also, again, a great upside. But again, I'm afraid for a 3-cost card, this guy just doesn't cut it when compared to other 3-cost cards. And what I see this card probably be is a great sideboard card for the matchups where you think your opponent will run multiple 3-cost cards, and you can come in and get an attack in and kill one of their guys, and then return it to your hand, and next turn play it out and kill one of their guys. I think it's a great sideboard card against Androids. I think it's a great sideboard card against like the Mecha Frieza decks as well, because it's a card that comes into play. It can kill one of their Frieza combo cards. It can also apply pressure on them, which is exactly what you want them to do. But again, I think you're going to have a lot more matchups where this card's probably not going to be the best instead of those matchups where he's an all-star. And for that reason, I'm going to give him a 2-star, but I think you should definitely think about putting this guy in your sideboard. Next up, we have the last card in this set, and this is Psyched Up Gotenks. Now, this is the spoiler card that we saw quite a while ago, and I have had some time to play not only with this card, but against the card, and I will say this card has been fantastic. It's a 6-cost, 2 green, 25,000 attacker that has Union Fusion, 2 green 2 that says Son-Goku and Trunks Youth. Place one of each of those specified cards with the same power from your hand into the drop area, and then you can play this card out. This card has double strike, and it says when you play this card, if you have a Son-Goku in your drop area, draw 2 cards, and if you have a Trunks Youth in your drop area, choose up to 1 opponent's battle card and KO that card. And this guy is awesome. He's great because he has something he does when he comes into play. He can be cheated out and play sooner, and he also replaces those cards if you do cheat him into play. But if you're able to play this guy out on 6, I think, in my opinion, if you can play this guy out on turn 6, he is insane. And because of that, I've been playing him a lot in Soul Striker Goku decks, and I think in those type of decks, he's just been fantastic. If I need to, I can play him out on 4 to remove a card or to get rid of Goten cards that might be in my hand. And also, guys, it's important to remember too that it's just Goten cards have to be in your drop area. You don't have to like ditch them, to play this guy to get the effect. So like Son-Goku, Family of Justice, and the Trunks and Untaps and Energy are both fantastic cards to pair with this card. And then if you happen to use both those combo cards throughout a game, which is very likely, you can play this guy out on 6 and get tons of value out of him, which I think what makes this card just an absolute boss. And then the potential to just ditch those cards anyway to play him out when you need him just takes it to the next level. He's just a fantastic attacker, has a lot of does something great when he comes into play. He's honestly going to be probably the Princess Speed Vegeta replacement in a lot of decks that want to run Princess Speed Vegeta. And I think that honestly, out of the Heroes pack, this is the most desired card out of this pack, and really the reason why you'll probably want to buy the Heroes expansion. Honestly, just to get a place of these guys will be worth it, because I see him getting a lot of play going into set 3, and even when this is immediately tournament legal as well. And so for all those reasons, I'm going to give him 3 stars. Thinks he's a meta changer. I mean, he's not gonna make any decks better that weren't already better, but he's definitely gonna fill in a couple empty areas for those kind of mid-range decks that needed just another big guy that has removal attached to him. Just a fantastic card, and again, just extreme value, especially when you play him 6, but still good on 4 as well. Okay, guys, well, that's it for this the Heroes set review, the Heroes expansion review. If you guys have any questions about this set or saw something I might have missed, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I'll try my best to answer those as quickly as possible. I am getting extremely busy with upcoming events with all this regional season. We got events coming up. We have the Toledo 1K. We have Virginia coming up. We also have Indy after that. And so these next 3 weeks are extremely busy for me. Plus, I'm in the process of revamping Patreon as well to bring you guys a really cool value and some really neat things that I can't quite talk about yet, but I got all kinds of things planned. I've been super hard at work, and I hope you guys notice. If not, please bear with me. I promise that everything is going to get even better. So I'm just super excited about my channel, super thankful for all your guys' support. And again, if there's anything I can help you guys with, do not hesitate to ask in the comment section or on Facebook, and I'll do my best to answer your guys' questions as soon as possible. All right, guys, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.